Hi, I'm Sam Bloom, and I'm presenting this research on Megan Rapinoe. She's a women's soccer player, a national women's soccer player. Um, and so Rapinoe has changed the world for women in sports in this past year. Winning endless awards, giving countless speeches, she has spoken up for underrepresented people and has made it clear that she will not be anything less than herself. As I was deciding on who to do this research on, Rapinoe came to my mind. I used to follow her on social media, and I just always felt super encouraged by everything that she posted. I felt so educated because of her post, and I thought she was very encouraging and inspiring. And so when I read this project, I was like, oh, sweet, I want to look more into her. And so as I was reading and doing research on her, I came across a common theme of hers is that she stands for all people. It doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter what ethnicity you are, what country you're from, what gender you are, she just believes in being kind and everybody being represented for who they are. And which is so evident in the way that she just evident in the way that she carries herself. And so I'm so excited to share with you what I learned about her. So Megan Rapinoe was awarded with the Woman of the Year award, and I think it was given by Glamour magazine, but it's a very good award to get and very cool. And this quote is kind of long, but I think it's really essential to who she is and what she's accomplished. And so she starts her acceptance speech off with this quote, and she says, "Someone whose courage and bravery was so bright and so bold, a person filled with conviction, unafraid of the consequences because he knew it really wasn't about playing it safe. It was about doing what was necessary and backing down to exactly nobody. So while I'm enjoying all this unprecedented and frankly a little bit uncomfortable attention and personal success, in a large part due to my activism off the field, Colin Kaepernick is still effectively banned. Still banned from the NFL for kneeling during the national anthem in protest of known and systematic police brutality against people of color. Known and systematic racial injustice, known and systematic white supremacy. I see no clearer example of that system being alive and well than me standing before you right now." Rapinoe humbly speaks about her privilege of being white and gives credit to the person who motivated her to stand up for all the things she does. Rapinoe had fought tirelessly for the things she believes in are right. She fights for gender and racial injustices. She was the lead player of the U.S. team to fight and lead her team to sue for equal pay. In her speech for Sportsperson of the Year, she discusses that she is not the fourth woman deserving of the title. Yet she was only the first woman. And so she was the fourth woman. And she just makes a point that there are many women who have come before her that were deserving of that award. And so I just think it's so cool how humbly she puts it forward. She talks about how she's privileged and that she believes that the reason she's up there is because she's white. But she's not going to use that platform to talk about her privilege, but she's going to use it to talk about the people who don't have the voice, which I think is just so incredibly inspiring. The question that asks me to analyze what types of influence Rapinoe is really a big task, because if I'm being honest, she's all of it. She's a trailblazer, she's a social activist, she's a leader, she's a gender disruptor, and she's a political advocate. But I'm going to talk about two specific ones because I believe that these are what has given her such a voice. She's definitely a trailblazer. She's a trailblazer because of her support for Colin Kaepernick. When no one else supported him, she did. And she was willing to take a knee to stand up for what she believed in, even if it meant her not playing. She actually got benched for almost half a year, and her coach never admitted it was because of the because of her kneeling, but Rapinoe says that it for sure was. In the Sportsperson of the Year article, so she also won Sports Illustrated Sportsperson of the Year, and in the article, her coach kept denying that that was the fact. Sorry, I lost my place. Yeah, but she's still, she didn't care if she was going to lose money or her job. She was still willing to take that. She eventually had to stop taking a knee because the national, like, USA teams passed a law that said that you have to stand respectfully. And so she did end up having to stand, but she like made note that she doesn't put her hand over her heart. She puts her hands behind her back and just sits with her or stands with her head down, and just reminds herself that all the people who have been killed and been treated unfair by police, which I think is really awesome. And then the other thing that I think is really important to talk about is how she's a gender disruptor. She was basically the reason that the women's team fought and sued the soccer federation, the U.S. Soccer Federation. She thought it was unfair, which it is, that the men were getting paid more even though the women's team was more successful. The New York Times article discussing the lawsuit stated that in 2015, women were paid $15,000, while the men in 2015 were paid $55,000. That's a huge difference, and Rapinoe knew that something had to be done, and she wasn't going to stand for this inequality. And so she gathered her teammates up, and they fought it. And I think that women, I just think, like, for her to get her team to do something that they never had the voice to do is just inspiring in it itself. And I even remember in 2015 when this was such a big deal, and just being so upset that women got paid so little compared to the men, even though the women were way more successful. But it's just cool to know that she uses her platform to do good, and she's just so inspiring. I don't have enough words or enough time to talk about all that she's fought for, all the good that she's done. But she's using her voice in such an inspiring way. She uses her voice to invite others to speak with her. In her Woman of the Year speech, she talks about her privilege of being white and the oppression she faces of being a woman. But what makes Rapinoe even more bold and brave is that she came out openly gay, and at a time when that wasn't known. She was bold enough to step forward and do that. She spoke about this not for herself, but to encourage others to be comfortable in their own skin. Another really cool fact about her, and something that she pays a lot of credit to, is that she grew up in all of the worlds. She grew up in a Republican family, which she now supports Democrats. And so she faced a lot of adversity from her family and for her political stance, and got in a lot of fights with her family. Her brother was in jail, so she knows the system and fights for how upsetting and how messed up the jail systems are in the U.S. She just has experienced so much of the world and has been in all the she says she's been in a lot of different worlds, which I think is why she's so willing to invite other people on the stage with her. She ends the Women of the Year speech by asking everyone to just be kinder and do better, because it's our responsibility to change the world. She's incredible, and I just really encourage anyone to look more into her and to the change that she's doing, because she definitely has inspired me. This is really long. I'm not really sure how long it was supposed to be, but I really enjoyed this project. I really enjoyed learning more about her and just how incredible she is and what she stands for. Thanks for listening.